Hi and welcome to the Get More Students webinar. I'm your co-host, Alex Asher. I'm joined by Herbert from herbertgerzer.com. We have Korinne, who's our content expert. And of course, who's this person, this mystery person that we have with us today? It is Sandy Allain. And Sandy is an expert in SEO. He's got 20 years of experience, and I'm really excited to hear what he has to say about helping use SEO to grow your business. Thanks very much, Sandy. Basically, the trends that are happening this November 2021. So in terms of very headline events, I thought that Facebook and Microsoft really committing their resources into it's really showing that they want to build the metaverse. As I've actually tried to learn more about it as well. Like, this is such a hyped up buzzword that I think gets thrown around, and I didn't pretend I even understood it as it sort of began. Facebook sort of saying, we're going to build the metaverse. And actually, from talking to a lot of friends that are much more technically capable than myself, quite quickly realized what they're really saying is we, alongside all of the companies in the world, really are going to be contributing to what is believed to be this idea of the next version or the next kind of iteration, evolution of the internet, which at least in the view and vision of Microsoft and Facebook and various other large tech companies, is much more likely to be VR based, augmented reality based, avatar based, pseudonym based. Basically, this idea that it will be a lot more immersive. And I guess they're kind of pushing this agenda that it will be a lot more seamless and feel like real world, but without any of the limitations of the physical world. And I think the VR, AR, so those two, sorry for buzzwords, virtual reality and augmented reality being at the crux of what that interface is going to look like. I actually might stop there for a moment and also get your, I don't know, Korinne, being very much in social media, you must have heard a million things about the metaverse over this last month with Facebook changing its name to Meta and all those sorts of things. Do you have any view on what the buzz is about, and maybe even what the time frame is actually that we're talking about?
Yeah, well, actually, I wish I could be more helpful. I've actually been quite sick the last couple of weeks, so I am a little bit out of the loop. But I have had one eye on what's going on, and I've seen all kinds of amazing sort of technical VR type gloves and all kinds of other really awesome and really interesting looking things. However, what that means to the everyday person, people like me and you, that's yet to be seen, because these pieces of technology are all very exciting and we can get very excited about it. And I'm sure that's exactly what Facebook is doing, is dangling these really cool things in front of us. However, for the average person, I really don't think that that's going to be sort of technology or anything that we can really get our hands on for quite some time. But I am really excited to see where it's going to go and to see how these changes are actually rolled out worldwide, because I always wonder whether or not it's going to turn into something that's a little bit that depends on your socioeconomic class as to whether or not you have access to these features. So I've got one eye on that. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Yeah, I'll open it to anyone else on the panel, but I think hardware is going to be, and remains the biggest inhibitor for this to really take off.
Yeah,
is without really good hardware, it feels like just doesn't feel very good. Like, even when I look at the avatars, even on the Facebook promo, I'm like, it doesn't even, I don't know, it still doesn't gel with me. And I think it might take quite a while, even from a behavior perspective, to kind of change expectations so that everyone kind of feels comfortable and that they want to be a part of this different reality, which I think is the talk of the town. Very interesting.
Fantastic.
Other small things, we are obviously always looking at COVID-19. I put that in here partly also. There hasn't been a huge amount of interesting news from companies being public or major changes, but COVID is always one of those things that can have major repercussions. Actually, being in Austria yourself, Herbert, you might be at the mercy of
another lockdown.
Oh man.
Yes.
we're definitely not out of it, which is interesting. Being from New Zealand, still seeing that we've got quarantine until February next year. There is still some resistance on getting back to the new normal. And the Alton Awards, though, is something I would like to talk about because I was there as a finalist, and it was a really great event. And I just wanted to also put my hand off to the winner in my category for digital innovation, and also for those that won at the prize. Definitely go and check out the Alton's Awards if you're interested in some of the movers and shakers, or at least getting the attention of our peers. It was a great event and a good sign of what's happening in the education sector. So I'm going to pass on the baton to Herbert. If you are interested in LearnCube, please make sure you go and check out our website, www.learncube.com. But in the meantime, Herbert, I'll pass it over to you.
We're coming towards the end of 2021. 2022 is rapidly approaching, and I wanted to give you a framework and some action items for you to create a winning media plan for 2022. So I guess the first question that we need to get out of the way is, what is the purpose of paid traffic for your school or your business? And what are your goals in the coming year? Do you want to launch a new program or a new course? Do you want to generate ROI, revenue? I mean, doesn't everyone want to do that? Or perhaps it's about scaling. You've found that formula that's working for you. You're getting leads and enrollments at a profitable rate, and now you're looking to expand into different markets. So getting your goal in place will help you create a strategy around that goal, and I'll dive into some other tips as well. So let's have a look at what audiences are you not leveraging. So looking back at 2021, if you have run some paid ads, whether that be on Facebook, on Instagram, Google, LinkedIn, whatever that might be, what audiences are you still yet to explore? And some of these could be website visitors, of course, email lists. So updating your email list to include 2021 and using them in your custom audiences. Customers, of course, most valuable, updating your customer lists for this year. Page fans, page engagers, and of course, interest targeting. So maybe refreshing, having a look at your client avatar or your buyer profiles. Maybe you created them a couple of years ago. Maybe you need to look back at them, and a lot of things have changed in 2021. Maybe the interests of your audience, maybe the demographics have adjusted slightly. So you will also want to take a look back at that in preparation for 2022. Then what creatives are you not leveraging? And this period right now, November, December, usually it's a quieter period for traditional language schools. And this is the perfect time to get the content created to use for your ads, for your website, for your social media during this phase. So, of course, user-generated content. Send out an email to students from 2021. Politely ask them for some testimonials, for student stories, for an interview, so that you can build up your library now, so you don't have to spontaneously do it on the fly next year. Long form video with text overlay. So maybe you have some videos on courses. Maybe you have a school video, or maybe you can get things like this made during this period. I've also experimented with GIF animation, so making things colorful, fun, really short, 5 to 7 second videos have also worked quite well this year. Testing out short and long form copy variations. Alex, I know we have always talked about how long form copy wins the day, but short form is performing quite well right now. So why not mix it up? And we're always up for testing new things. Looking at carousel ads and updating or brainstorming some ad copy hooks for your campaigns. Looking at questions, calling your audience out. and focusing on the transformation of your students. I also wanted to share with you a video ad, a Facebook video ad from one of our clients that we are using that's performing really well. It's short, it's catchy, it's loud, and I wanted to show you to get some inspiration on maybe how you can create some video assets as well. Yeah, very short, very loud, a lot of quick actions there with video. And really the whole goal of this type of creative is to catch the eye, get people to stop scrolling, because the creative catches the eye, but the ad copy sells the click. And that should be your goal in 2021 to get the most out of your advertising budget. Okay, and of course, if you have been running campaigns during this year, you want to go back and audit them to find out what was working and what was not working. So looking at things like, if you had a high CPC or a high cost per click, what might be the reasons for that? It could be your offer or your targeting was a mismatch. So refreshing your audiences and looking back at your ideal client avatars, updating them, and then going into the ad platform and updating your audiences. Maybe your ad copy was too short, too long, wasn't punchy enough, didn't call out your audience, or maybe it didn't have a clear and strong call to action. So those are some of the symptoms of a high CPC. Maybe you have a low CTR or a low click-through rate. People are looking at your ad, but they're not going through to your website. Maybe it's because you lack social proof. Get those testimonials from your students. Maybe the creative is uncompelling, it's boring, it's not eye-catching. So, you know, those first 2 to 3 seconds really matter, and you want to grab people's attention as soon as possible. Maybe you have a low average order value or low return on ad spend. And that could be a few things. Maybe you don't have enough upsells in your checkout procedure. Maybe you're not leveraging a retargeting audience, which is one of the first and most important things that you should create when running paid ads. Or you may need to review your landing page or website. Maybe there are too many call to actions. Maybe it's not clear or not providing the visitor with the information they are looking for. And last but not least, if your cost per acquisition is high, then you have to look at two things: product offer mismatch. So the offer, maybe the course or the program you're advertising to the audience is not what they want. Maybe you have to adjust your offer, make it more juicy, have a stronger guarantee, or maybe repackage it in a different way that is more compelling. And the second one is your sales and follow-up process. Last month, we had Nicola Lutz on here talking about sales and follow-up, and you really need multiple touch points as well as multiple follow-ups to really get the most out of leads coming in. I was just speaking to a potential client today, and they were only following up once after they got leads in for their programs, and they weren't seeing results. So, you know, that is a quick way to really increase conversions. And also, last thing, take advantage of January and February to run paid ads. These are the best months and the cheapest months to run ads. Right now, during Black Friday, Christmas, Cyber Monday, is the most challenging and most expensive time to run ads. So we've actually reduced ad budgets for our clients, but January and February are peak times. A lot of e-commerce and direct-to-consumer brands are not advertising in January and February, but for the industry like language schools, it is the perfect time to capture people's brand new start to the year, setting goals and New Year's resolutions. So make sure you have everything in place before January so that you can hit the ground running in the new year. Great, I hope that helped. And you have some tips and strategies to really crush it in 2022.
Fantastic. So we're next going to be having Korinne joining us, talking about what's going to be our topic today, or should I not ruin your thunder there, Korinne?
No, you can tell me. I think someone just made Sandy the host and not me. So today we're going to talk about recycling, actually. And we're not going to talk about recycling paper and glass and all that jazz. We're going to talk about recycling content and the do's and don'ts and why we should do it and all those bits, because it's a nice, following on or adding to what Herbert said. We are coming to the end of the year, and maybe you're a bit stuck for content to get you to the end of the year, or maybe you're not really sure what you want to post coming up in January, February. We're talking about organics, not the paid stuff. That's Herbert's jazz. So I'm going to talk about some hacks or some easy things that we can do. All right, so as I mentioned, we're going to talk about recycling. So why, or reasons to recycle your content. So there's a few sort of really easy and quite obvious things there on that list. Saves you time. It's great when you're stuck for ideas, and it also can be used to highlight a topic or an event that's coming up. And it also allows you to build on a previous idea or update something that you've already posted. However, recycling is not as simple as just reposting or resharing your content. There are some really important things that we need to remember or consider. We don't want our audience to feel like they've seen it all before, because when that happens, they lose interest, they lose faith in us, which is even worse. And you risk losing them altogether. So let's have a quick look at my list of recycling do's and don'ts. So over on the left-hand side in the do column, we do want to recycle content that had good engagement the first time round. So what that means is that we don't want to take our piece of content that performed poorly. We want to look at the bits and pieces that did the best, and then we want to use that content. One other thing that's really important is that we recycle historical content. And what I mean by that is you don't want to recycle something that you posted last week or 2 weeks ago, because it's still too fresh in the mind of your audience. What I tend to do is look at least 6 months in the past, okay? Even a year sometimes. We do want to create new graphics. Now, this is really important. And even if you're pressed for time, you want to change some colors, you might want to change the wording, you need to give that piece of content sort of a new look. Rewrite or update the caption. So, I mean, you don't have to rewrite it completely, just sort of adding in or rephrasing things here and there is a good practice. And also update anything that's not, that is now out of date. Perhaps there's been an update or there's some new statistics that you can add in there. So make sure you update all those areas that you can to make it as current as possible. You can add in the things you may have forgotten the first time round. It's like a second chance for you. So add in your alt text behind your image, add in location tags, hashtags, whatever it is that you've forgotten, this is your chance to add them in. And of course, update your hashtags. Hashtags, if you use them a year ago, they may not still suit your purpose. They may not still be, the best hashtags for you and your business. So do update them, refresh them, make sure that they're going to work for you. If you look quickly on the don't side, again, we don't simply reshare an old post. That's not going to get us very far unless we're deliberately owning it as a reshare, as a memory. Don't use the same graphic. I touched on that before. And also don't recycle posts that performed poorly. Now there's a star there because there is one small caveat. And that is perhaps you made a post, let's say 9 months ago. And since that time, when you made that post, you've suddenly realized, oh, well, I could have done this particular aspect a lot better. And because I didn't do this particular aspect correctly, maybe you didn't add any hashtags at all, or maybe your caption wasn't good, or maybe your graphic was fuzzy or just wasn't appealing. If you can identify the reason or the likely reason that that piece of content performed poorly, then by all means, you can give it another shot and do a better job. But in general, we don't recycle posts that perform poorly. Don't ignore any new features or best practices that didn't exist when you made the original post. And that could be all kinds of weird things. You'll see when I give you an example a little bit later on that when I made the original post, the best practice or the most common practice for that post was when you needed a line break, you put a full stop, a dot. Nowadays, for example, on Instagram, you don't need to do that anymore. You can just simply create a line break. So you wouldn't want to copy that old way of doing things into a post now. And don't tell people it's recycled, unless, of course, you're telling them that you have updates or if you're proving a point. And by that, I mean, I think it was about 3 months ago, I did an entire week of recycled content. And at the end of the week, on the Friday, I asked people, hands up or you know, yes or no, did you realize that this entire week was recycled content? And only about 2 people said that they did. And they also gave me the comment that there was 1 or 2 things that they remembered, but not that the post was exactly the same because it wasn't. Okay. So I wanted to give you an example of some recycled content. So the example on your screen is from Instagram, but these principles do apply across the board when we're talking about recycling. So this is actually the last piece of content that I recycled. So the first post, that's the one on the top, that's the gray one, is from 2020. So actually a little over a year ago, I think I posted that. The one underneath, the pink one, that's from last week. I know that they're pretty tiny on your screen right now, but I'll run through a couple of the points that I have here. So you can see that they look completely different. Now, a lot of that is to do with my brand aesthetic got a bit of a shake up earlier this year. So I've changed completely the way my posts look and the way the way I reflect my brand in my posts. So that is the main reason why they look so completely different. I've also added in the newer, in the recycled piece of content, a call to action slide. So that's the one at the very end. It's 4th from the left, the one where the hands are holding the save symbol. And, you know, when this was posted in 2020, having this sort of call to action slide in a carousel, it wasn't a thing, but now it is. And now it's extremely important. So that's why that's been added in. And that goes back to making sure that you're following the best practices of now. So I've updated that post to reflect the best practices of now. I've also rewritten all the text and the graphics. And in the caption, there are some rewrites, although for this particular post, the majority of the caption actually stayed the same, but the hashtags have been rejigged, shaken up, and refreshed. The recycled content, so the pink one, it basically performed equally as well as the original in terms of overall performance. The engagement was slightly higher, so there was slightly more, there was a few more saves on it, and there was, I think, a couple more comments than in the original. And one other thing was that although they got more or less the same sort of number of likes, in the new post, there was a higher percentage, well, there was a lot of new likers. So people that didn't, it wasn't the same people just liking both pieces of content. Yes, there were 1 or 2, but there were actually a chunk of new likers that liked the recycled content. So that is actually it from me. That was just short and sweet today. Just remember, by all means, recycle your good content, your quality content. Make sure it looks different. Make sure you do some rewrites. And there is absolutely no reason why you can't have successful posts from stuff that you've already used. So yeah, that's me. Thank you very much. And I'm going to pass the baton back to Alex or directly to Sandy. What would you like?
Go straight to Sandy.
Okay.
If you can.
I've now figured out the little reclaim host button. I'm loving that one now. So be aware.
At any moment.
Yeah. Wonderful.
So I really want to talk to you about like SEO, because what happened, SEO has become very complicated. Like there's a lot of different factors. And when I work on for new clients and current clients, basically, like you have if you all know the 80-20 rules of SEO, like of everything, but like for SEO. So basically, I'm going to talk to you about the 80-20 rules of SEO for the education companies. And tell you first about me. I've been working in the industry for the past 20 years. I work for big and small language schools and some language portals. I'm now the owner of Language Business Mastery, which is like where we offer services, copywriting, SEO, and some training. And now I'm going to show you, I'm going to run through what you should be spending your time when it comes to doing SEO, if you do SEO yourself. Okay. As I was saying before, the Pareto laws, it's like 80% of the results come from 20% of your action or efforts. For example, you have 80% of your sales will likely come from 20% of your marketing strategies. Excuse me if I'm talking a bit like, okay, you can see. As you know, if you didn't know, like already Google has over 200 ranking signals, which is like impossible to do all of them. That's why we focus on the most important, where I was talking about the 80-20. Many of these factors, I personally don't even consider when creating an SEO strategy, and I never will, simply because they are overkill. It's too much. So they are not needed to rank. There are like 3 main points you must have before even starting an SEO campaign. Well, now I don't even see my screen. Okay. Think of this way. If you have a tool that generates 500 sales a month from 10 different marketing channels, but 2 of those channels account from 95% of those sales, what will you do? Like you have to focus on the main ones. So the 3 factors I was telling you before, one is on-page SEO, the SEO title, the keywords, meta descriptions, the URL structures, H1, H4, like Korinne was talking about before, images, and your content. Then you've got your branding, social accounts. You could have a Facebook page, Instagram, like have your address of your business in different directories, different places. So you have a branding, basically. And 3, which is like the base, what most SEO don't like doing, which takes a lot of time, is doing the link building. But link building, if you're doing it the right way, it doesn't have to be that difficult. So basically, this is link building. If you don't know it, it's the practice of building one-way hyperlinks to a website. Common link building strategies include content marketing, email outreach, and broken link building. You want link to be from authority sites that are closely related to your industry, like travel, other education websites, even can be universities, like related to our industry. A good way to get links, like the easy way, is to look at your competitors. And wait, hold on. Just what am I doing? Maybe Canva isn't the best because it's going over my my Zoom. So basically, check your buy link for your using tools like Ahrefs, SEMrush, and you can see what your competitors, where they have their links, and from that you can try to replicate only the good links. Like, you can contact like other websites. You're linking to XYZ. So maybe you can link to mine, because since you're linking to the other ones, it could be good for you. So easy way, little tricks to do it. And basically, I've got on my website, like a language business mastery. I've got also different training to do other things. And And voila. And if you didn't know, I'm French, as shown from the voice. And here we go. I'm done.
No, that's
back to you, Alex.
That is
quick.
Great. It
Maybe
was basically one of the good things is it means that we've got plenty of time for questions.
I think, and a question that I've been asked before by with clients of my own, and I don't have necessarily the best answer. When you're approaching companies to ask them for a link, you know, how do you approach that without feeling uncomfortable? Do you just sort of bite the bullet and say, hey, you are linking to X, please link to me? Or is there some kind of etiquette, or, you know, what would you recommend that people do? Just jump in there, or is there a specific way that's likely to bring us success?
No, it's a different way to do it. I mean, if you do it in a way like the white hat, like a good way, like if you have a website linking to your competitors, why are they linking to your competitors? Because maybe they have a list of a language school in specific cities, or they're giving advice to people. You can visit those websites.
Yeah.
So you tell them, look, I'm also doing the same thing. If you don't mind, could you link to me?
Sure.
So it's the easy way to approach it.
And do you send those emails to the link master or to the info account? So the webmaster, or to the info account, or how do you maximize your chances of getting an answer?
The best way to find the owner, or to find the person working in the marketing department. Or if you really don't find it, you send to the info.
Sure.
As you know, not all of them will reply, but it's a number game. So that's the thing also.
Sure.
You know.
Great.
Just on that idea of numbers games, I think that's probably the thing that put me off doing it. But you've just got to change your expectations, right? I think just my own experience, like you go, I'll put I'll send one email out and nothing comes back. You're like, oh, that's it. Doesn't work. But in fact, you often have to send. What's your kind of hit rate? Do you think, Sandy? You might need to send it. Even a template email to
helpful, basically. Not trying to beg, like, oh, please give me a link.
No,
it's more like in a way of I'm helping them, they're helping me. And sometimes they might say, like, if you link to me, like I will share your content on my Facebook, or like I'm linked to this new website, which is a directory of school, for example.
Yeah.
And then we are on this website, so it's it's a win-win. Like you offer, sometimes you have to offer something in exchange.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't. But in a way, it's a little strange, because now, like even some will tell you, like, pay me X. Or say, I'm sorry. Or if the link is like, it can bring you visits directly, because sometimes a lot of people forget that it's not about getting links for SEO. It's about getting links that bring you clients. I can even have a link on the website that don't help me for SEO, but since people are clicking on the link, I would get visit to the website. So it's you have to look at it this way. Even for the white, if like white hat SEO, it's like that's what Google is looking for. Like, do these links, how to put it? If SEO didn't exist, would this link be good for to get clients, to get clicks? So it's actually the link you have to focus on, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. And actually, just as a follow-on on this conversation, there was a question in the chat just about, and I can understand it as well, if you're a small business, maybe even in a starting business, if you're asking for a link, I think you've really answered it, Sandy. You have to have something that you can do in exchange. So obviously, if you don't have authority in your own website in terms of a web link exchange, you may not have that to be able to offer. What are some other things that could be meaningful to a larger organization that could then be used as a way of providing a win-win?
Well, first of all, you can try like lower end website, like website with less I call it like I forgot the term, like less popular website, which are going to be easier for you to link to start with, and then you can go up. It's like going to like your website, Cube, like, give me a link. It's like, I don't know you. But then after some time, oh, I've seen you before on this website, the other. Okay, I give you a link because you trust more the company.
Yeah. That makes a lot of
question, or...
I think it did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think probably if you're a smaller company, it sounds from what from what I'm hearing from Sandy, if you're a smaller company, you do have to do more to build trust with that person. And you can't just send a blanket. Yeah, no worries. We got you, Sandy. Yeah, you can't just do a blanket email to everybody.
Yes, the mic problem, but I'm back.
That's right. We can hear you.
Perfect.
Is it still worthwhile writing guest posts to get links, in your view, Sandy?
Guest posts have become very spammy in the past few years, and now you can still do it but you have a different technique. It's more like don't put a guest post on the website, only put in guest post. It's like you get a guest post from someone on a website who's writing, like, normal blog, for example, and then can you link to me? Or I can give you, we can do a guest post. But if it's like, I'm sure you're getting all these emails like every week. I say you some guest post, and then you look at the website, it's only guest post. It's very spammy. So you have to be very careful, like where you put your links. Yeah. But once again, if it's this website get visits and click on the link, then it's good.
Makes sense. Sandy, just out of curiosity, if you take the metaphor of fishing or hunting, hunting being you're really looking for the right target and really going after it, and fishing, you just send a lot out and just really hope you get some back. Where do you sit on that equation? Do you feel that you're more of a hunter or a fisher when it comes to links?
Right, you look more for the quality.
Go for the quality.
It's not what I was saying. Number of games, it's more. I mean, to be reasonable, I don't like that. And if I go further, it would be spamming. Like, I send 3,000 people in 1 hour. No, it's more like you have to, before sending the email, you have to think about is this website going to bring me visits? Is there some value? That's the main thing. That's the question you have to ask yourself every time. If you're going to get value from this website. And this will help you for all the other technical questions about link building.
I think that kind of links back to your conversation before, Herbert, just on like, what is your goal for 2022? Like if it's to get more leads at the top of your funnel, or you have, if you want to build partnerships and we want to have other sort of sales funnels, those are all different questions with very different link building strategies, right? Yeah. Very good. We've got a question for you, Korinne.
Yeah, I can see in the chat there.
Yeah,
a couple.
Why don't we start with the one that maybe this last one? How do you know if your content really performed poorly? And I wonder if that's also because
that's actually
timing and content can be different things, right?
Absolutely. And that's actually a really good question because sometimes the answer is really fickle. Sometimes there is no clear answer, sort of, neon sign answer, this is what went wrong. Particularly if we're looking at, like, for example, LinkedIn as a platform, sometimes working out what went wrong on LinkedIn is almost impossible. So what I would say is first of all, you need to give yourself some time. If you have only just started posting and you post today and you sort of look at it in a week's time and you think, oh, well, did this perform well, or did it bomb? You're not going to be able to have the answer. You need to have at least sort of 3 months of content behind you before you'll actually start to see trends, and you'll get sort of a feel as to, what is good for you and your niche and your brand. Because, for example, I work with a lot of different clients, and sometimes I'm working with people who already have 15,000 followers on Instagram, and they say to me, well, you've only got 600 odd. And it's like, well, actually, my niche is very, very small, and I might only have 600, but they're extremely engaged. So for me, when I get 20 likes and half a dozen comments on a post, that's actually really good engagement. the engagement rate is really high on that particular post. However, if you had 15,000 followers, for example, and your post, a good post might get 300 or 400 likes and 100 comments. If you suddenly had a post that got 20 likes and no comments, well then, that's clearly, it's clearly a tanked post. Yeah. However, it really depends on your audience, your posting schedule. You have to basically get sort of 3 months behind you, watch how things go for that length of time, and then you'll start to see what is good and what is average and what is really not working.
I love that. It's not about the vanity metrics, the number.
No, not at all.
It's about the quality of the followers and how engaged they are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, engagement rates, if you haven't really looked at engagement rates and then you suddenly jump into your analytics, particularly on Facebook or Instagram particularly, if you jump in there and you see, oh, I've only got 1% engagement rate. On Instagram, that's actually a really good engagement rate. Sort of 1 to 3% is average engagement rate. So if you see a number like that, you don't have to feel bad or discouraged. That's actually average. That's good. That's fine. If you see something over 3%, well, then you're killing it, and that's awesome. So it's just a matter of keeping everything in perspective.
Herbert, I've got one question for you.
Yes.
This was just on webinars. I mean, also you and I both have sort of a lot of experience in webinars. And the question was more relating to whether they still work for tutoring or language businesses. And I think actually the real question was about, what if they don't understand? Let's say that you're maybe you're doing a webinar, but it's not their first language. So do webinars work? So that was the question.
Yeah. So a client of ours does webinars and uses them as a lead generation tool very successfully. However, you've got to know your audience, right? If most of your audience are beginner speakers in English, then an English webinar probably isn't going to work. However, if your niche is IELTS exam preparation, Cambridge exam preparation, then your webinar should be in English, and having your webinar in English will actually filter out those that who don't understand and will narrow in on your target audience. So again, it really depends what your audience is and what your niche is. But yes, they can work.
And can I add something cheeky to the end of that?
Sure.
If you want to, hit sort of a more general group and you're worried about language, if you move that out of a traditional webinar format, and for example, put that onto an Instagram Live or even an IGTV, if you wanted to, have a posted after the fact, Instagram will actually now will translate the spoken words. So the person who is watching will get a notification on their screen that says, would you like a translation? And if they click yes, then they get an automatic, what do you call that? Subtitles to the live or to the video that
amazing.
So that's just a little something. I'm pretty sure that's rolled out to the whole world. I have it here in Germany, and Germany is usually the last place to get any of these fancy new functions.
Makes sense. I had a question for Sandy, which was, you kind of mentioned the 80-20 principle, which I thought was really accurate. Where, if you're starting out, how would you prioritize? Like, you gave some quite broad, specific kind of areas, like on page, and then your content, and then talked about link building. Where have you found that you get, like, is there something that is like 1% of your time but gives you 5% of the results? Like, is there something also that doesn't take you much time but has a big impact on SEO?
I tell you right now, it's more like doing the content of your website. Like, if you bring quality, if you have quality content, and you're really thinking about the users and basically what Google is looking for, not with all the tricks and everything. Like, if you really focus on good content and really answer what your customers are looking for, this is the main priority.
That's the whole. I get it. That's the main ingredient.
Main ingredients, like a quality of your content. Yeah.
Okay. And then once you've got that quality content, what do you feel would be the next kind of level that do you have any specific examples of what somebody could do today with, let's say they've got a great blog post, they've done nothing to optimize it. What would be the 1, 2, or 3 things that you would do?
Well, first of all, they have to know, like, if you create a blog post and know if actually people are looking for this.
Okay.
What they're writing for. So it's like the keyword. We like to know, or more or less, because sometimes you can get lucky, but usually you will have to write a lot of blog posts to get one to rank. But you just like find what people are looking for and then optimize it for Google.
Got it.
So what I was saying before, like the content optimization, like on-page SEO, basically.
Yeah.
And then after link building at the end, just to boost. Basically, I would even say like the link building come at the end.
Link building comes at the end, yeah.
It's very important, but it's like I call it like you put some fuel, like some
the fuel on the fire, right?
Fuel on the fire, like just to make it go faster, you know.
Okay.
Basically.
Curiously, when you create content, do you start with the keyword in mind and then think of, okay, I've got the keyword, this is what the audience looks for, and then you come from that place to create your content? Or do you, because that's what I'll often want to do is like, oh, I've got this great idea, but no one's actually caring about that idea.
10 years ago was like more about like the keyword and then the content. Now it's more like content and then see if you can put some keywords in it, if you can optimize it a little bit more for the specific content.
Okay.
And also, if some not of your pages are optimized, it's okay. Like if you see what I mean, like for example, you've got 10 pages and you have one, what do you need to have on the website? It's like your course pages. No one looking for it, but you need it.
Yeah.
It's there, but maybe, you see.
That makes sense.
Just to add a little bit to that though, I write a lot of blogs for schools and also some agents. And sometimes for me as a writer, it's much easier to have maybe not a fixed keyword, but if the client says to me, okay, these are sort of the 5 kind of keywords we're aiming for, it's easier for me to write naturally if those keywords are in my brain and I can sort of weave them in rather than try and like fit them in after the fact. So I agree. I don't think you have to start with the keyword and build around that anymore. But I think from the perspective of writing natural English or natural whichever language you're working in, it does help to sort of have even just a vague idea of the sorts of things that you might want to include.
Of course. I mean, it is the main. When I mean to say maybe at the beginning, I misexplained myself, but it's the main. It's like you have to do something in between.
Yeah.
Like you know your keyword, and then it will come naturally if you write good content.
Yeah.
So you have to have an idea. Okay, I'm going to talk about this because I know people are looking for this topic, and then it will come naturally. And forget about old school SEO as we call it. I'm going to put the keyword like 50 times, like 10 years ago. And no, it's going to do the opposite for you. You just write naturally because usually, when you write about a topic, if you write a good article, it's going to come naturally in the text. So no problem.
Makes a lot of sense. We might use that as a chance to finish up. So let me go through our different panelists and thank them individually. Starting with yourself, Herbert, thank you so much. It was really interesting to hear what you were talking about. I think 2022 is going to be a great year for us, and thanks for putting that in mind. How are they going to get in touch with you if they're interested in what their 2022 looks like, and it might involve you?
Sure. Through my website, herbertgerzer.com.
Right. And Korinne, again, we've got 2022 in mind. You've just saved us a ton of time. Now I've realized that I've actually done the work for the rest of the year by having done that last year. So I thought that was a great tip. Where are people going to find you?
Or you can visit my website, which is KorinneAlgie.com.
And I don't think it's that difficult to spell, so I'm just going to go KAIE_marketing. That's the handle. Very easy.
That's the Instagram handle, but if you're trying to email me or visit my website.
And Sandy, again, I really learned a lot from you with SEO. It's definitely been an area that I'm really fascinated about. So thank you so much for being our guest speaker today. Where can people find you, Sandy?
Well, you can basically find me on my website called languagebusinessmastery.com.
Excellent. Language Business Mastery. .com.
And then I've got service and training, and then you can even pop me an email and I will answer some questions. No problem.
Fantastic. That's great. Well, thank you so much. And from LearnCube, www.learncube, we really thank you for joining us today. And I actually think this is going to be our last one for the year. I know it's November, but December, everyone goes crazy. Everyone's got Christmas parties. They don't want to attend a webinar. So we're going to have a think about maybe a different way that we could still get you some great content in December, but maybe doesn't get in the way of your Christmas dinner plans. So we'll get back to you all. But definitely see us on the LearnCube YouTube channel. You also see our past recordings, and otherwise have a fantastic end of the year. Thanks very much, folks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Actually, I prefer the other one, but you know.
Did you? Oh, damn it. All right.